Here's a sample of what you'll hear on this episode of Holistic Health Matters.
So we want people to come in here and give them an experience that lets them know we care. We're their friends. They're our guests. They're not our patients. They're our guests. We're glad to have them here. We want to serve them. We want them to get what they want. They want to get their health back. They want to get their lives back. So we spend time with them, listen to them, affirm them, encourage them, cultivating them hope, and show them a pathway.
Welcome to the Holistic Health Matters podcast, where it's all about maximizing your health potential in spirit, mind, and body so that you can pursue the abundant life more effectively. I'm your host, David Sandstrom, naturopathic doctor and biblical health coach, and this is episode number 39. This episode is brought to you by Sauna Space, makers of high-quality home saunas. Let's face it, you know you want one. Even people casually interested in health and wellness have heard of the health benefits to sauna therapy. The research is in, the word is out. Regular sauna bathing is extraordinarily beneficial to your health. Go to my website, davidsandstrom.com/resources, and click on the Sauna Space logo and start enjoying all the health benefits to owning your own third-party tested, zero EMF infrared home sauna today. Welcome back. We're continuing our conversation with Dr. Stephen Hotze. He's the founder of the Hotze Health and Wellness Center in Houston, Texas. He's a holistic MD, and we're going to be talking about hypothyroidism as well as what it takes to run a practice that actually puts the patient or the customer first. We're also going to be talking about what it takes to build health holistically in spirit, mind, and body. It's some really good stuff, and I encourage you to hang in there to the end because he has a really generous offer for the HHM community. You're going to want to avail yourself to that offer. So let's jump right into part 2 of my conversation with Dr. Stephen Hotze. Dr. Hotze, a lot of people find themselves either in the doctor's office or a holistic practitioner's office, and they know they don't feel well. They know there's something going on. The doctor will test them. They'll run some blood work usually. It comes back normal, and they say, well, I can't find anything wrong with you. It's probably all in your head, and they end up on an antidepressant or something like that. But they know better. The patient knows better. So a lot of times, I know that you find that these patients end up having some type of a thyroid issue. So could you detail for the HHM community what exactly are the symptoms of hypothyroidism?
Fatigue, oftentimes difficulty with weight, low body temperature, inability to focus and think clearly. Women call it brain fog all the time. Change in moods, maybe depressed moods, joint and muscle aches and pains, irregular menstrual cycles, infertility, miscarriages for women, bowel function disorders, hair loss, puffiness, pale. These are just fingernails that are ridged. Loss of lateral third of your eyebrows, enlarged tongue. These are signs and symptoms of hypothyroidism. So if somebody has some or all of these symptoms, and that points you in the direction of low thyroid. Doesn't matter what the blood test tells you. What we're looking at and listening for is the symptoms. Philosophy is, despite what the blood says, and in thyroid cases, 95% of the time your blood tests will fall within the normal range. So that's why you've gone to the doctor and the doctor says, well, you don't have hypothyroidism. Your blood's normal. You go to the doctor thinking, I have hypothyroidism. Why do you think that? Because you read about it. You went online and said, what could cause these symptoms? And it comes up hypothyroidism. And you go to the doctor and he goes, you don't have hypothyroidism. And you go, how do you know? Well, your blood will tell me. He knows 95% of the time the blood test is going to fall within a wide range of normal. The blood test is determined for all the hormones by what the last blood tests that were done the day before, which is tens of thousands. And they get a mean, which is the average, plus or minus 2 standard deviations, which encompasses 95% of the population. Think of the bell-shaped curve. The mean or the average is right in the middle of the bell-shaped curve, and you've got 95% of the people fall under the bell-shaped curve. So if you fall within that bell-shaped curve, you're going to say, the doctor's going to say you're in the normal range. Now, you may have been...
Now, let me interrupt you right there. And we got to remember that the people sending blood work into the lab
are
not healthy anyway.
These are not ideal individuals. These are not Olympic athletes sending their blood in. They're sick people to begin with.
Right.
So to compare our levels with them is not exactly pointing towards the optimum levels.
That's exactly. So what we want to do is you want to make sure your hormones are at an optimal level, not within some wide range of normal determined by the lab. And the reason is because if you think about it, for instance, with thyroid, what does thyroid do? Thyroid glands go in your neck. It's shaped like a monarch butterfly, produces thyroid hormones, two primarily, T3 and T4. What does that stand for? T3 stands for the thyroid hormone with 4 iodine atoms. T3 is the thyroid hormone with 3 iodine atoms. Your thyroid gland produces 94% T4. That's inactive. That's not an active thyroid hormone. And 6% is the active thyroid hormone, T3. T3 has 3 iodine atoms. What happens is the T4 is assimilated into the cells. There, an enzyme called deiodinase, get rid of the iodine. That's what it means, deiodinase enzyme, cleaves off one of the T4, one of the iodine atoms from T4, converting it to T3. That's the active thyroid hormone. That is the spark plug that creates the spark that enables the mitochondria or the power plant generator within your cells to produce electricity. You've got to have that active thyroid hormone. So it doesn't matter how much blood you have in your blood. If you don't get it into your cells and convert it to T3, then your body's going to run and function at a less than optimal level. You're not going to produce adequate amounts of thyroid of energy within the gland. The thyroid enables your cells to produce and use energy. That's what it's there for. And if you don't get enough thyroid in your cells and the active T3 form, then your cells just don't function well. And that affects every organ in your body. And that means you're going to operate at a lower than metabolic rate. You're not going to function well. You're going to be like a low voltage individual, you know?
Absolutely. So, Dr. Hotze, you've been treating hypothyroidism for more than 25 years in your clinic.
Yes.
And I would consider you one of the nation's foremost experts. What percentage, I know this is an estimate, but what percentage of the population would you say is suffering from hypothyroidism?
Well, I would say most women that march through their menstrual life are going to have hypothyroidism to one degree or another. And the reason is the female hormones, as they decline in women, lead them to fall into a state called estrogen dominance. The primary hormones that women make once they enter puberty are estrogen hormones, 3 of them, estriol, estradiol, estrone, and they make progesterone. The way the cycle works in a perfect world, in a 28-day cycle, a woman starts making her estrogen hormones on day 1. Those are the proliferative hormones that proliferate the inner lining of the womb. They cause it to beef up, getting ready to receive a pregnancy. When a woman ovulates on day 14 or 15 of her menstrual cycle, that area where she ovulates and gives off the egg produces progesterone, which matures the inner lining of the womb, preparing it for the pregnancy. And it balances out the estrogen. Estrogen is a proliferative hormone. Progesterone is a maturing hormone. So they balance one another. Well, as a woman ages, the hormone level that falls most dramatically as they march through their menstrual life is progesterone. And estrogen becomes the dominating hormone. So when estrogen dominates, what happens? They proliferate the inner lining of the womb and their periods become heavier, go from 3 to 5 days, moderate, bleeding, to 5 to 7 days with more heavier bleeding, and then 7 to 9 days, and then they get cramping and clotting, and then they get breakthrough bleeding. And this happens as they march through their 30s and into their 40s. And that happens when they have anovulatory cycles. They don't make an egg every month. Once women hit about 40, they're much less fertile than they were when they were 20, right?
Yeah, of course.
Why? Because they don't ovulate every month. They're anovulatory. They don't ovulate every month. They don't ovulate. They make no progesterone, even though they make estrogen. So that's why these periods get heavier and heavier. And some months, women will go like, every other month or every third month, I have these terrible heavy periods. They didn't ovulate that month when that happened. So how can that, and when you have an imbalance of estrogen to progesterone, this is called estrogen dominance, and that adversely affects the thyroid hormones function at the cellular level, because estrogen dominance leads the liver to produce high levels of thyroid binding globulin. Now, what in the world do you think this binding globulin named thyroid binding globulin would be binding?
Maybe bind thyroid?
Thyroid hormone. So you think of it like this. I like to explain it like this. The thyroid gland is like a quarterback. The thyroid hormones are like the football, and the thyroid binding globulins are like defensive halfbacks. So the thyroid's throwing the pass out there, and boom, you got these defensive halfbacks, the thyroid binding globulin that glom onto this football, the thyroid hormone, and prevent it from being assimilated into the cells properly. So all women, as they march through their menstrual life, will experience, to one degree or another, estrogen dominance and a decline in their thyroid function intracellular. They'll have these symptoms. So when they do, so what percent of women have? I would say 100% of women, to one degree or another, experience a decline in their thyroid function intracellularly. And men also, as their testosterone level falls, that also adversely affects their ability to utilize thyroid hormone as well. And so they begin to function. And the thyroid gland, as you get older, just doesn't produce the same amount of thyroid hormones as it does when you're young. I mean, just like the testicles and the ovaries don't produce the same amount of hormones. That's just part of the aging process.
Right.
So everybody, to one degree or another, is going to experience hypothyroid symptoms. My philosophy is, the symptoms of hypothyroidism, you should have a therapeutic trial of thyroid, not a therapeutic trial of antidepressants, anti-anxiety, sleep medication, anti-inflammatory, or any other drug.
Let me interrupt you right there. And that brings up another point I wanted to make, is that it seems like the symptoms are pretty easy to recognize. And you're saying that it's very common. Why is it so difficult for someone to go to a traditionally trained medical doctor and get a diagnosis and get some help?
They will only treat the blood. They only look at the blood. If your blood falls in the normal range, they say you're normal. Now, the other thing most doctors don't look for is antibodies to the thyroid gland. This is called autoimmune thyroiditis.
Hashimoto's.
Yeah, or Hashimoto's is a formal name named after a Dr. Hashimoto, who was a Japanese doctor who lived in Germany in the 1920s and discovered this disorder. But it's antibodies made by the immune system to your thyroid gland. And that adversely affects the function of the thyroid and the production of thyroid hormones. Another thing that causes poor thyroid function is fluoride in the water. And this is very important. Fluoride has been put in 70% of the water in America. Fluoride poisons the deiodinase enzyme within the cells that converts the inactive thyroid hormone T4 to T3. And so where do we get it? If 70% of the Americans are drinking fluoridated water, and every one of them are using toothpaste with fluoride in it. Or they're going to the dentist and he's slobbering it all over their teeth. Why in the world would you put fluoride, which is a poison? Go read the MSDS Material Safety Data Sheet from the federal government and look up fluoride. It's poisonous.
Yeah.
For crying out loud. It's carcinogenic.
You don't even have to go that far. You can just pick up a tube of toothpaste if it's fluoride toothpaste, and it's going to have a warning label on the back that says, if you swallow more than a toothbrush full of this product, call your poison control center. So why would you willingly want to put that substance in your mouth every day? I don't know.
Why would you use this? And so you go back to 1960. I'm old enough to remember when they were having fights in communities whether or not they had fluoride in the water. The pharmaceutical companies, drug companies were coming in that really they were fertilizer companies that had all this, that were creating fluoride as a byproduct of their fertilizing process, and it was killing it. It was floating in the air, and anything that was near these factories that produced fertilizer, the animals were not fertile. It was poisoning the crops. So the government came in and said, you can't spray this fluoride in the air. Well, somebody seen a study where it showed that people that lived in an area of the country that had high fluoride in the water had less cavities. So they sold this product to the city saying, oh, if you use fluoride, guess what? You'll have less cavities. Well, that's totally untrue. It's been proven to be untrue. But so we put it in our water here. Back in 1960, of the population, 15% of the population was overweight. Half of those people, 8% of the or 16% were overweight. Half of them, 8%, were obese. Currently in America, 70% are overweight, 35% are obese. In Europe, where they do not allow fluoride, 16% are overweight, 8% are obese. Why? They eat, you go to France, they don't just give you a little bread basket. They give you a tray of bread. They drink wine. They have, they have pizzas and pastas in Italy. You go, the people are thin. Why? because their thyroid glands or their thyroid hormones are not being poisoned by fluoride.
You know, I got to share a quick story there. That's a great statistic you just shared. When my kids were young, I had them at the dentist. My oldest was probably 6, and the hygienist asked me, "Do you want to do the fluoride treatment before you leave?" I said, "No, thank you." She said, "Why not? Everybody gets it." I said, "Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's my understanding that fluoride is a toxin." And she said, she paused for a minute, looked down at the floor, and then she looked up and she said, "Well, yeah, you're right. Most of the time," this is a children's dentist, "most of the time when we give kids this age fluoride treatment, they throw up before they leave the office."
Wow. That's just crazy.
Yeah, but they do it. That's just something they just do religiously.
Hey, this is conventional medicine or conventional dentistry. They're told by the ADA, American Dental Association, this is, if you talk against it, they will take your license away.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah. We thought we had free speech in America, but not really, right?
Yes.
But stress, the stress that comes with that is certainly a component to health for sure. So I interrupted you earlier. You were talking about if, regardless of what your blood work says, if you have the signs and symptoms of hypothyroidism, treat it. So start out, titrate low, and start out and work your way up. So talk about the titration process.
Well, it's very simple. Because we've seen 33,000 guests here at the Hotze Health and Wellness Center. And since 1992, we've probably seen, we've seen and treated 30,000 for hypothyroidism, probably more than anybody in the country. Any place in the country have treated that many. Most, you go to a clinical endocrinologist and they don't treat you. If you do, you get treated with synthetic thyroid, which is T4, which isn't even active thyroid. Clinical endocrinologists primarily are diabetic doctors. That's what they treat. They check for thyroid, but because they look at blood levels, they rarely treat. 5% of the time will they end up treating somebody. So our philosophy is, and I learned this from Dr. Broda Barnes, the book Hypothyroidism, the Unrecognized Illness. You ought to look up Broda Barnes, Broda Barnes. Great
I've
book.
read some of her stuff.
In 1970, tremendous. That's where I cut my teeth on and learned about how to treat thyroid from Dr. Barnes. So anyway, and we use natural desiccated thyroid. We used Armour thyroid in the past. Now we compounded here in our pharmacy physicians preference pharmacy international here in our building. We compound from bulk ingredients, our hormones, so we don't have any fillers or dyes or anything in it. Armour thyroid has changed over the years with some fillers and dyes that don't make it as readily acceptable. It's hard to get it sometimes. The pharmaceutical companies, believe it or not, that made T4, Pfizer, which made the T4 product Synthroid, bought out that company to get rid of its competition.
Wow.
So it's falling. And then they sold it to another pharmaceutical company. So they've tried to keep it so it's hard. It was hard to get the product because they wanted to keep people from getting natural thyroid. Why? Because they got well. And if you got well,
you don't need their services.
Right. Well, you don't need all these other products they want to give you. Remember, the drug is about keeping you sick and on a maintenance of drugs for the rest of your life.
Absolutely. Let me ask you this, Dr. Hotze. What foods, if someone is experiencing hypothyroidism, they get on the right supplements and or pharmaceuticals to support it with desiccated thyroid, I think is what you recommend. But What should they be adding to their diet and what should they be avoiding in their diet?
Well, I always recommend avoiding, no matter what your situation is or your diagnosis is, dramatically limit your simple carbohydrates, your sugars in any product like grain, corn, potatoes, and rice. It converts to sugar. That's highly inflammatory, and that's unhealthy for your body. Eat yourself good. Here's what I recommend for an eating program, and it's basically a ketogenic program. Eat good, healthy oils and fats. What does that mean? Eggs, eat avocados, eat fish oil, olive oil, coconut oil, have hard cheeses, have nuts, good oils. Make sure you have a good large content of that and that's butter too, whole butter. Get rid of the margarine and all those things that clog up your arteries. Eat for salads, get yourself, I tell you what I eat every day. I have a spinach salad with broccoli and chopped nuts and olive oil and balsamic vinegar. I eat that every day, and I literally eat spinach every day. I've eaten more spinach in my lifetime than Popeye would have ever dreamed of. I wish I looked like he did with my muscles, but I don't. But I eat a lot of spinach and other green vegetables, whether it's Brussels sprouts or broccoli and all that. And then I eat some meat. I'm not a big, and I believe in intermittent fasting too. I eat one meal a day. I have bulletproof coffee in the morning with whole cream because it doesn't contain lactose. I have that 2 or 3 cups of that, maybe in the morning. That's it. And I'm not hungry the rest of the day, and I'm not hungry in the evening. And I can hardly eat more than about 4 ounces of meat is plenty for me. It fills me up. So that's how I keep myself I'm within about 8 pounds of my playing weight in high school.
Excellent. I am too. In fact, I'm within about 4 pounds of my high school weight. I'm 58.
There you go.
I agree with all of those recommendations. I'm also a certified nutritional counselor, and I think your nutritional advice is spot on. But I'll bet there's somebody listening that says, he's recommending butter and egg yolks. Doesn't he know that that's high in cholesterol? So we know that cholesterol.
You want cholesterol? Bring it on. We want cholesterol.
Absolutely.
Everybody needs cholesterol.
You will die without cholesterol. But go ahead.
That's ridiculous. They made a bogeyman out of cholesterol so they could sell anti-cholesterol drugs. Cholesterol does not cause heart disease. Heart disease is caused by inflammation. What causes the inflammation? A high sugar diet, a high simple carbohydrate diet. All the starches that you're eating, folks, and are told to eat by the Diabetic Society and by the Heart Society. Get off of oils, get off of fats, don't eat all that meat, eat high grain diet. Well, guess what? You want to die young and get yourself heart disease? You just eat like the Heart Society and the Diabetic Society tells you to eat, and you kill yourself. Yep. It's got an upside down pyramid. So they want you to eat all these grain products. And remember, your starches and your simple starches are sugar molecules hooked together. That causes inflammation, and it raises your insulin levels, which is inflammatory, which drives the sugar into fat, and you get blood pressure problems and diabetes, and on and on and on and on and on. So that's not what you want to eat. You want to stay away from that as much as possible, and you want to and eat less, for crying out loud, in a bucket. Look, I looked at my dog a couple of years ago. I've got a silver retriever, Labrador retriever. He's as muscular as he can be, not an ounce of fat on him. My wife feeds him once a day and eats bison meat, dried bison meat in the morning. That's what he eats every day. Uh-huh. And he's fine. He's got energy. He's not, he eats once a day and he looks thin and trim.
Yep.
It's not one, and so if you eat healthy and eat one meal, I couldn't eat one meal a day. Well, why don't you just get yourself trained, eat to live rather than live to eat?
Well, one of the points I make in my book, The Christian's Guide to Holistic Health, is this idea of a grocery store on every other corner is a very modern invention. For most of human history, people had to do intermittent fasting or time-restricted eating out of necessity. And it was actually a very healthy practice. And I feel we have to move back into the way people used to eat.
Well, my wife announced to me just before I talked to you on the phone, she said, well, do you want me to reheat those tenderloins? Because I'm fasting for the next 2 days. So my wife fasts twice a week.
Good for her.
48 hours. She does a 48-hour fast twice a week.
Uh-huh. Twice a week.
I intermittent fast every day. Almost every day. It's a rare time. If something special happens, I may go to have to meet with somebody and I'll have a salad. That's it. But that's rare.
Yeah. So before I let you go, I got one more question for you. I know your wellness center is a little different. You don't have pharmaceutical reps roaming the halls. And you say in your book that you actually hired the Ritz-Carlton to train your staff. So talk a little bit about what makes your wellness center different. What if I told you there was a pill that if you take it regularly, you could enhance your immune function, detox your body from heavy metals and environmental toxins, enhance your mood, relax your muscles, reduce pain, bring on better sleep, and has virtually no side effects? If this pill existed, would you want to get your hands on it? Well, this treatment does exist, but it's not a pill. It's called sauna therapy. God's design is always best. Being outdoors and getting sunlight on your skin on a regular basis is remarkably health enhancing. But most of us don't live in tropical climates and we can't always get outdoors. So the next best thing is having an infrared sauna at your house. Far infrared saunas have been used successfully for years. However, please understand this. Far infrared saunas have a dirty little secret. Most of them emit high amounts of EMF or electromagnetic frequencies.
These EMFs stress our bodies and reduce the effectiveness of sauna bathing. Sauna Space solves that problem by using third-party tested zero EMF near-infrared bulbs that more closely mimic natural sunlight. I love my Sauna Space sauna, and I use it several times a week. If you're considering a home sauna, I highly encourage you to go to my website, davidsandstrom.com/resources, and click on the Sauna Space logo and start enjoying all the extraordinary health benefits of owning your own near-infrared, zero EMF home sauna today. Now let's get back to the show. What makes your wellness center different?
Well, we decided years ago, back in 1996, most doctors don't realize, nor do lawyers, that they're in business. And the business is to provide a product or service to customers, okay? We call them patients. People come in and they have a need. They have a problem and they want you, the entrepreneur, to solve that problem.
Right.
And if you can solve that problem, they will pay you to do that, okay? So you've got to see yourself, and this is one thing most doctors are unwilling to do, is see themselves in business. Well, what does a good businessman do? He solves problems. This is where I am, and God put me here. So I decided, well, you know what? I don't like the way medical clinics operate. I don't like them. And in 1996, my president of my company at the time and I said, you know what we need to do? Let's get into the hospitality business and get out of the medicine business. Why don't we go to the hospitality industry and within that context provide medical care? So who do we benchmark with? We benchmark with the Broadmoor Hotel out of Colorado Springs and with the Ritz-Carlton. So we have as our mission statement, we are ladies and gentlemen, serving ladies and gentlemen. We're professionals. These services will enable our guests to enjoy a better quality of life by helping them obtain and maintain health and wellness naturally. We have 3 steps of service. We offer a warm and sincere greeting. We anticipate and exceed our guests' expectations. We offer a fond farewell, thanking them for the privilege of serving them. The Health and Wellness Center is a place where the genuine care and welfare of our guests are our highest mission. We pledge to provide the finest personal attention to medical care in a warm, friendly, relaxed, yet refined environment. The Health and Wellness experience cultivates hope, instills a sense of well-being, and fulfills even the unexpressed wishes and needs of our guests. So we want people to come in here and give them an experience that lets them know we care. We're their friends. They're our guests. They're not our patients. They're our guests. We're glad to have them here. We want to serve them. We want them to get what they want. They want to get their health back. They want to get their lives back. So we spend time with them, listen to them, affirm them, encourage them, cultivating them hope and show them a pathway. Now, we don't do it for them. We're like health coaches. They're like the health athletes. I tell every one of them, you're in the Health Olympics. Whether you like it or not, we're here to help coach you. We're going to make some recommendations like any coach in any line of work would do. And you're going to have to follow the recommendations. The heavy lifting is yours. If you want to win a gold medal, we're going to make these recommendations. If you'll follow them, we know that you're going to end up a whole lot better off and feel a whole lot better. It's up to you to discipline yourself to do it. You made the investment. And by the way, everybody invests cash. This is a cash-based practice. I don't use insurance. I've never used insurance at all. I've never been part of HMOs and PPOs because I'm going to work for my guests. They're the people that I'm looking to pay me. When they do that, they make an investment in their health. If I used an insurance company, the insurance company wouldn't let me do what I do. They'd be over me. They'd report me to the medical board. So you can't do that. Well, my goal is to help our guests and anybody that wants to get on a path of health and wellness and who's willing to take charge of their health and invest in their health. Those are the kind of people I want. If people don't want to do that, if they want to rely on insurance from insurance companies and want somebody else to take care of their health, they best not come here. We just, wouldn't be a good mix.
Well, one of the things I tell people that bring up this insurance issue is if you keep doing the same thing over and over, Einstein said that's the definition of insanity. Right. So if you want different results, then you need to start doing things differently.
Right.
And it sounds like you're doing exactly that. And how refreshing it is to hear a practice that operates the way you do.
Listen, if every doctor did what we did, the country would be so much healthier. And I've written the books. I've written 4 books. I've written Hormones, Health, and Happiness, my first book. By the way, any of your listeners, if they would like a copy of my books, either Hormones, Health, or Happiness, Hypothyroidism, Health, or Happiness, which is a chapter from the first book expanded, do a 180 and join the wellness revolution. Those 3 books I've written for patients. I've written a book for doctors called The Proven Prescription, How to Build a Successful Cash-Based Medical Practice, showing doctors how they can do what I do and be successful. If the doctors would read this book and do what I do, their patients would be happy. They'd be well. They wouldn't be relying on insurance or the government. And the pharmaceutical companies would be broke, basically, and we'd have a healthier population. But, there you have it.
You have a pretty generous offer with those
sure.
books,
I was going to say, if any one of your listeners wants to call our Health and Wellness Center, call up one of our new guest consultants would answer 281-698-8698. Call up and just tell them you heard me on the podcast today with David Sandstrom, Holistic Health Matters, and we'll send you a copy of the book free, and we'll ship it to you. I'm giving it to you so you can read it and learn how to take charge of your health.
That is incredibly generous.
No matter whether you come here or you go somewhere else, you're gonna be educated. I promise you, read my books, you're going to be far more educated than your doctors are about your health.
I can concur with that. I read one of them, and it was just loaded. I mean, packed with great information. So you're a great author. So is the phone number the best way to get a hold of you, or is there a website?
Well, you can go to our website, Hotze. That's HOTZEH, as in horse, W is in war, C is in cat.com. Hotze, HWC, Hotze, or you can just Google Hotze Health and Wellness Center.
Okay.
That's easy to do. And go to our website. You can pick up there. You can go to Hotze Vitamins, or you can go to our pharmacy. You can go to our pharmacy physician's preference. By the way, when the COVID situation came up, I hired a public relations guy out of Washington, and I was on talk radio and TV across the country at about 140 different stations, TV and radio, all the way from San Diego to Maine, from Alaska to Miami, and everything in between, all over. And I was talking about the need to build up your immune system. And don't worry about this COVID. Get a healthy immune system so you can fight things off. God gave you an immune system. God gave your body amazing restorative power. You put the right molecules in it, your body will be healthy. Why are you alive today? It's your age. I'm 70. Why aren't I dead? We come in contact with trillions with a T, viruses and bacteria every day, whether you wear a mask or not. The mask is so ridiculous. It does nothing to protect you, and it causes a whole lot more harm than it does good wearing a mask. It is a way for them to control you, and you ought to just unmask. I've been against the mask since day one. We don't wear them in my office. So what you need to do is build up your immune system. Not rocket science, right? Be healthy. Let your immune system take care of you, as it's been doing all your life. Take care of the viruses and bacteria you come in contact with. Well, so I decided, I'm going to come up with an immune pack, because people started calling our office and we were shipping them bottles. I said, let's just come up with an immune pack. So I have an immune pack for adults, for teenagers, for kids. But the adult pack and all the packs contain vitamin D3, vitamin C, B complex, vitamin A, zinc, and a probiotic, as well as magnesium for the adults. And I use high doses. We have 6,000 milligrams of C. We have 10,000 milligrams of vitamin D, 10,000 A, vitamin on zinc. It's 30 milligrams. We have 400 to 600 milligrams of magnesium, and then we have probiotic in there. That'll help build up your immune system. You ought to be on that all the time. Whether you get it from me or not, I'll just say this: ours are not made in China.
Excellent. All right. I've got one more question for you before I let you go.
Okay.
I know you're a follower of Jesus Christ,
yes,
and you've kind of answered it, I think. But how does your faith play into, when you're doing a consult with a client, how does your faith play into digging deeper into finding the root cause of what's ailing this person?
Knowing that God made our bodies in a special way, in a remarkable way, knowing that he gave us an immune system, knowing that God's given our body amazing restorative healing powers, knowing that he's the author of life, the great physician, knowing that he came that we might have life and have it abundantly, that gives me the foundation. I can say I can help people get well. God's given us, we've discovered what God's put out in the world that we can use to enhance our health, from eating right, our hormones. We've learned about these things. We've learned about that's how we've learned about them, because God made it discernible. We've learned about them. So that just gives me the foundation that I know I don't need pharmaceutical drugs. I don't need some man-made, something that never existed before in nature that's poison, which goes totally contrary to my Christian faith. Using, the idea that you'd have to use pharmaceuticals to be a healthy person, mentally or whatever. So anyway, that plus our practice is centered around, it's a Christian-based organization. Now, we don't have a steeple with a cross on it, but we're outspokenly and openly in public and everywhere. They know we're a Christian organization. We have 70 on staff. Our staff meetings are always open in prayer in the name of Jesus. We talk about Christ in our meetings, and we bring that up unashamedly whenever possible. We attract the staff we attract know because of what I have on my belief statement on our website. They know that we're Christian. Our guests know that we're Christian, so we have a high number of Christians that come in here, and it's not uncommon for us to pray with them. After I see them, I'm led commonly when I see a new guest. I discern sometimes, and it's not uncommon for me to say, let me just pray for you right now. Somebody's having a problem. Let me pray for you, give you some encouragement. I know that
that's great.
I know that good health is built on 3 legs of a tripod: spiritual health, mental health, physical health. So you got to be healthy spiritually, have a right relation to God through Christ. Second thing, you got to be mentally healthy. You got to be thinking positive, optimistic thoughts, listening to people that encourage you and build you up on tapes and podcasts. And third thing, physically be healthy. Take charge of your health. That's like a tripod. And if any one of those legs is short, it's going to be imbalanced and fall over. So you've got to be, health is based upon those 3 primary legs: physical health, mental health, spiritual health.
Thank you for sharing that, Dr. Hotze. That's completely in line with what the information I present in my book, The Christian's Guide to Holistic Health. Just real quick, when I was going through, when I was battling chronic Lyme disease, right, and I started searching the scripture for what it said about health. And here's one of the things that just came upon me as I was studying, and that was God loves us enough that when He tells us to do something, it's for our benefit. Right. He knows the future. He made us. He knows everything. And when He tells us to avoid something, it's for our protection. Right. So with those 2 points in mind, the Bible just becomes a plethora of health and wellness information. Yeah. So it's my contention that we maximize our health potential by aligning our lives more fully with God's design for spirit, mind, and body. And it sounds like you're doing exactly that. And I'm really happy to have discovered you and met you today, because we're on the same mission.
You bet. And I admire you for what you're doing and for educating your listening audience to these concepts and principles. It's center that we wash out of our mind all the programming that's been done by the television stations in our mind about the needs for drugs. Get rid of that. Don't listen to that. The commercials come on in the last 15 minutes. Somebody's playing and acting happy, but in the background is, and it could give you liver cancer, brain cancer, heart attack, strokes. You may want to kill yourself. But somebody in the background, they're having fun on that drug.
Having a good old time. Yeah,
it's totally crazy.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you once again, Dr. Hotze, for your time. Appreciate you sharing.
Thank you, my friend, and God bless you. Your work and your ministry, and I pray God would prosper you in every way in the coming new year.
Likewise.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Dr. Stephen Hotze of the Hotze Health and Wellness Center in Houston, Texas. I encourage everyone to take advantage of his generous book offer. Call his office and they'll send you a couple of hard copies of his books. The number there again is 281-698-8698. Please don't forget, this episode was brought to you by SaunaSpace, makers of high-quality, third-party tested, zero EMF home saunas. Go to my website, davidsandstrom.com/resources, and click on the SaunaSpace logo and start enjoying all the extraordinary health benefits of owning your own near-infrared home sauna today. When you make a purchase by using the links on my resources page, you're supporting the show financially because you won't pay any more, and I make a small commission from that affiliate partner. For more, go to davidsandstrom.com. In the show notes for each episode, you'll find links to all the resources that were mentioned, as well as a full transcript with timestamps that you can download for free. In addition, I always include a content upgrade with each show, which is a free download that is designed to help you go deeper with that subject. Once again, thank you for listening, and I'll talk with you next week. Be blessed.